Because when you buy a business, you're buying the goodwill on the business. So if it's a previous existing barbershop, you have to pay something which is called goodwill, and you buy the business. So I bought the business and all its contents. Literally, I went in, I gave them the money, they gave me the key, and they said, everything in here is yours. Clippers, machines, sofas, mirrors, the lot.
Hello guys, and welcome to Visionation Success Stories podcast. So today's guest is BarberJalaal. If you'd like to introduce yourself to the viewers, for those who don't know you.
Yes, bro. So yeah, man, I'm BarberJalaal. I am a barber. I'm a barber coach. I'm an entrepreneur, and all around fun guy. Really, that's the best way I can describe it, man. I like what I do. I'm passionate about it, and I'm forever learning and willing to take lessons from others too.
Yeah. So I wanted to start off speaking about your early growth. So when you started off, your childhood, your upbringing, and how you kind of got towards the barbering, stuff like that.
So I was born in London, 1988. Born to single mum. I was raised by her for majority of my childhood. She used to be a model, and when she had me, she left that career and she became working for the local authority as a housing officer. And yeah, man, I was involved in TV, I was involved in a bit of acting, performing arts. I used to go to dance club, I even went to ballet for a bit. And I just always had a kind of creative, artistic flair. I used to buy art books of Van Gogh and Picasso and stuff as a kid, and I would copy them and dream of being a painter and artist like them. And that was it, man. Creativity has always been something in my life that I'm just really passionate about it, whether it's with hair, paint, film, photography, music, etc.
So in barbering, and where did you start from and how did it come about?
So obviously, as I said, art and design was a big part of my life growing up, and I went and studied graphic design. When I got to the age of 19, I studied graphic design, and I studied that for 3 years. When I was in a position where I could have gone on to study a complete degree in graphic design, I decided not to. I did a diploma in graphic design, and I got a few jobs as a designer. But as soon as I finished my studies, I needed a quick money-making job, and I used to cut my own hair, cut my brother's hair, cut my dad's, a few cousins and whatnot. I wasn't very good. I was all right, but nothing special. But that was where it started. And obviously having that artistic passion and interest and creativity, I decided to just try and get into barbering as a means to make money, not as a career. It was just a means to make money, and it was being creative, and it was something I liked to do. And over that duration of that period of time of starting out in barbering, I got opportunity in a barbershop. I started working there. And then I worked in several other barbershops, and was just learning on the job for a long period of time, and that resulted in me moving on from lots of different shops and eventually deciding that maybe barbering wasn't for me. But how the tables turned, and I came back to barbering, and the rest is a long and lengthy story of growth and learning. So yeah, man.
Yeah. So you mentioned that when you was barbering, you kind of deterred away from it. So what caused that, and what was the issues you faced, and how did you come back towards it?
So I came away from barbering because I felt like there wasn't much growth, wasn't much progress in the job. I didn't feel like I could really get where I wanted to be in it, and I couldn't see a career. I knew I could make some money, but I felt like it was just kind of hand to mouth. But it wasn't barbering itself. Now I realise it was my own mindset and my own actions and behaviour in relation to barbering. So I kind of came to the conclusion that I'm going to leave barbering. It wasn't for me. I had a lot of people dissuade me over the years as well and say that, it's not a proper job and you can't really make money and there's no pension and there's no benefits and there's no paid holidays and all this stuff, all the kind of negative things, which, you know, in their defense, they were right. But I knew that there was way more potential in barbering than they were letting on. So I decided to continue on with barbering for a while. And then eventually, I think it was 2012, I quit. I said, that's it, now I'm hanging it up. I'll cut my friends, cut my family, but I've had enough. I'm not making enough money. I don't see no progress. People don't want to spend enough with barbers. And then around 2013, you know, I gave it another little go. And I went to 13 different barbershops looking for jobs. And I got rejected from every single one. And on the 14th one, I got accepted. But went and worked with that guy, and it only ended up really working out for about 10 days, bro. 10 days, and I was like, nah. And then after that, I completely hung it up for about 3.5 years, man. Yeah.
When you came back towards barbering, so after that 4 or 5 years, how did you reignite your passion, basically? Is what I want to know.
So, I mean, obviously, through all the tribulations and whatnot, my main objective when I first got back into barbering is I need to make money. Because I knew that was the one thing that was going to keep me doing it. Because at that time, you know, I had family, I had responsibilities. And as much as my own dreams were, you know, on the table, I had to think about other people. So I knew if I get back into barbering now, I've got to be making money. So I made a strategic move, I'm not going to lie. I found a barbershop where the barber who worked there prior to me was not as good as me. He wasn't a bad barber, but I knew he wasn't at my level. I knew in terms of business acumen and social media and just social skills in terms of connecting with people and marketing and whatnot, he wasn't at my level. So I knew that there would be no conflict of interest when I went back into it, going into barbering, being in his shop, because I knew that I would kind of outshine him in a very quick period of time. So I got back in, and my main goal was to make money, and I started to make money quite quickly. And then I realised, okay, I'm making the money. You know, I'm making money now. I'm making £300-400 a week as a barber, which at that time, coming from working as a barber and making £200 a week, it was like, okay, I'm making double what I used to make. So that's good. But it wasn't enough. The money wasn't enough in terms of, I didn't just want money. The money was enough, but it wasn't enough. I wanted success. I wanted growth. I wanted to become a better businessman, become a better barber. So I started spending a lot of time invested into barbering education, becoming better at what I do with my hands in terms of cutting people's hair. And that really ignited my passion again. And I became I'd spend every minute of every day just watching barbering tutorials, listening to seminars, reading materials online. I could, even, for example, books about hairdressing, like diagrams about growth and how to cut the hair this way and it will do that thing, and you name it, I was watching it and reading it, man. And that's really what reignited my passion and let me realise that barbering was an extension of my creative flair that I've always had.
Yeah. So basically you're trying to say it became like an obsession.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you was like more into it. So at that point, when you was making a decent amount of money in the barbershop, then when did you have the idea like, I want to start my own barbershop, I want to do this?
So I went back into barbering in January 2017, and in June 2017 is when I decided to get on social media. I'd had a 5-year social media like ghost, I don't know what you could call it, blackout. I just went totally dark, and then decided to get back on social media. So when I got onto Instagram, I'd never had Instagram before. When I got onto Instagram, it was like, yo, this is different. You know, I can really see what I can do in terms of potential as a barber. Because I went on there and immediately I came across other barbers who had their own brand, had their own products, had their own GARMs, website, booking apps, you name it, they had it. So that really inspired me. So I saw all of that stuff going on to Instagram and I thought, well, I've studied graphic design, I've worked as a barber, I compare those two things and do the exact same thing, but in my own way. So immediately in, like I said, June, July time, made myself a logo straight away. Obviously, being a graphic designer, spend a couple of days, you can make yourself a good logo. So I made myself the logo that I have right now to this day. Made myself a logo, made myself some business cards, leaflets, banners, posters, and just kind of branded my social media and got to work, man.
Yeah.
Actually got to work.
So I think that's a quite a good thing to have. So you said you used to do graphic design, so you used one of your past experiences, even though it wasn't what you were doing, but you had that skill set and you was able to benefit yourself from it, basically.
Definitely, like the skills that I had as a graphic designer, had I not had those skills, I don't think I would have been able to progress as quickly as I did, because when I wanted a new flyer, I just go home, jump on my computer and make a new flyer.
Yeah.
You know, when I wanted a new post to advertise myself on social media, I could go home and create one, you know. Now there's apps out there that can do it on your phone and all sorts. But we're talking 4 years ago, those apps weren't really around then. So I would jump on and use the design software that I'd studied and learned how to use to my advantage. And it just made life a lot easier. It cut out the middleman. I didn't have to pay thousands of pounds in design costs, because to get good branding, you're going to pay for it. It's as simple as that. And when I used to work as a designer, I charged people a lot of money for branding, because there's a lot of thought that goes behind it. It's not just a logo. It's about visual communication. So I took those same skills and I've applied it to this, and it's helped me to just build this brand very quickly. And in the space of 20 months, I went from a logo on my computer to owning my own barbershop, having my own line of products, employing people, and yeah, man, so much more.
Yeah. So when you was thinking about making your barbershop, so when you was so you must have been at your current, like, previous barbershop with working with someone else, and you thought, I want to go on and do my own barbershop. So what made you, like, bridge the gap, basically? So, like, what made you make that step? Because I know there's a lot of risk involved in, like, doing something like that. And what made you overcome these issues?
No, there's huge risk involved. You know, there's financial risk. There's obviously your own mental risk, because you put your all into something, it doesn't work out, it can really affect you and knock you back. You know, there's risk in terms of relationships. Some people in your family, friendship groups, your own, you know, intimate relationship, they might not believe in what you want to do. But I just had solid conviction in what I was going to do from the start. So once I went to that barbershop, I worked for 20 months. I really built myself up. I was very active in social media, in my marketing, advertising. And then I left that one shop and went to another shop. So when I went to the second shop, the first week I was there, I got a call through a barber that I'd just connected with. And he was like, "Oh, are you looking to get your own barbershop?" And I said, "Well, it's always on the table, but it's not something I've been actively pursuing." He said, "Well, there's a shop going if you're interested." And I said, "Okay, well, where is it?" So he told me where it was, and, you know, strangely enough, that shop is somewhere that I'd always walk past every single day. Every single day I'd walk past that shop and looked at it and thought, imagine if I get that shop, man, that would be really good. That would be a great location. That could really work for me, you know. And eventually I said to the guy, "All right, you know what, I'm going to go down there, I'm going to speak to the owners and see what they're saying." So they told me their price, and I negotiated with them, and they weren't budging on their price. Now, at the time, I thought maybe they were just being stubborn, but I realised that they also saw the potential in that barbershop. It's just that they couldn't fulfil the potential. So I met their owners, we agreed a price on the barbershop, and then I had to speak to, obviously, the landlord, everything like that, because when you buy a business, you're buying the goodwill on the business. So if it's a previous existing barbershop, you have to pay something which is called goodwill, and you buy the business. So I bought the business and all its contents. Literally, I went in, I gave them the money, they gave me the key, and they said, "Everything in here is yours. Clippers, machines, sofas, mirrors, the lot." And a lot of stuff got thrown away. Because I had my vision. And a lot of stuff got thrown away, and a lot of things got replaced, and some things got reused. And we got to work for about 3.5 days and didn't sleep much. But yeah, man, by the fourth day, we were ready and open with my own barbershop, with my own sign and logo right outside the door, man. So it was a very proud moment.
Yeah, it seems like you were quite focused on your vision and you wasn't like worried about like competition or anything. So like, how do you like work towards that kind of mindset when you're trying to open a business and you're thinking someone might be thinking X, Y, and Z about another business? Like there's like this many people doing the same thing, but I want to do it as well, and that like might put people off from starting a business. And what would you do to like avoid that essentially?
So, well, I'd say the first thing is you need to be confident in your skill set. You know, if you, because a lot of people talk about arrogance, you know, and I always say that the difference between arrogance and confidence is belief in what you do. So if I have complete conviction in what I do, I'm not fearful. So when somebody says to me, oh, you know, yeah, but what if this, what if that? And I say, bro, don't even worry about that, man. And they might turn around and say, oh, he's being arrogant. It's not that. I'm just so confident. Sorry. I'm so confident in what I do, and my conviction is so strong. So you need to have conviction in what it is that you do. You need to build confidence in your skill set, learn, grow, be willing to take advice from others, and also be willing to kind of shut others out when their advice just is negative and they're not really seeing the vision of what it is that you're trying to complete and what you're trying to fulfill. So for me, I rang one person, which was my mum, and I said to her, Mum, this is what's on the table, this is what I want to do. She said, don't call me again until you've got the keys. Simple as that, man. And I didn't ring her again until I got the keys. And I rang her, I said, Mum, I've got the keys. She said, right, get to work then, you know, get it done, get it ready. My mum's a business owner as well. She's had her own business now since 2004. So she knows a lot about being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, working at your own dreams. And she inspires me a lot. And whenever I have sort of questions or moments where I kind of, you know, falter a little bit, I'll always refer back to my mum and say, what do you think? And she always gives me the best advice. So she told me, go out there and go get it. But it's not easy. I'm not gonna paint it like it was easy. Like I said, in 3 days, I slept 9 hours in 3 days to get that shop open. You know, there was times when I was leafleting and putting banners up and posters up until all times of night. And then I'd go in, open the barbershop up in the morning. The most important thing that anyone who wants to set out on a goal has to understand is you're going to work hard. Like really, really hard, and then a bit more harder. And if you don't, forget about it. I've set out to do so many things in life in the past. I didn't work hard at them. They never worked. I worked hard at this thing. It worked. So I'm proof in the pudding. If you work hard, it will happen. If you don't, it won't. Simple as that, bro.
Yeah. So I wanted to touch on, so you mentioned how the social media, when you got back into Instagram after like 5 years.
Yeah.
So when you started doing the social media, so I've been following your account for a while now. I've seen how you're doing the branding. Yeah. So you've got the BarberJalaal brand, and so you've been doing like TikToks and stuff, you know, like viral content. So more people will be exposed to your content, basically.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like, how are the effects of social media affecting businesses, essentially?
So I mean, with social media, it's where everyone is, bro. It is the new word of mouth marketing. Like, word of mouth will always be there. You know, you telling your friend about this place does good food. Your friend's going to take your word for it and go there. It's the same when people tell people about my haircuts. They're going to say, okay, yeah, well, my friend said that he's good, so I'm going to go there. But social media is the new word of mouth, because when people go on your page and you put in your bio, I'm a good barber, for example, and you know, somebody then looks on your page and they see good haircuts, you've reinforced what you've already said. So you've reinforced you're a good barber. They're seeing good haircuts there. Then they go on there and they see you share your reviews. For example, on your Instagram, you might share a review. Somebody said, oh, well, so John said XYZ about this barber. He must be a good barber. He said it. Then his pictures are there, and now John's saying it. Then, for example, they look at your follow account and they see that, okay, this guy follows 100 people, but he has 8,000 followers. And they say, and 8,000 in terms of social media isn't a large following, but it's still good. But then when they see that that core following is engaging with your content, and you have pictures of good haircuts or videos talking about barbering, or TikToks that are funny and engaging, it reinforces what you're saying to people, that, I'm a barber, I cut hair, I'm good at what I do. Whereas if you don't have social media, you're telling people nothing. So it's better that you're on there and you're telling them something, and they can make their own assessment. So for me, social media is the new word of mouth. It's the only way to really grow in a modern day. But it's not as easy to use it as people think. There's a lot that goes into it. A lot of understanding. I'm grateful enough to have worked in branding, marketing and advertising to be able to use those same skills and understanding and apply it to the social media for my BarberJalaal brand. But it's a big challenge, and you have to be careful not to allow social media to become the most important thing in your life. The most important thing is your own personal happiness, and then the goal that you set out to achieve, and social media just complements that.
Yeah, you mentioned how businesses, they are not using social media, and so they're not documenting what they're doing. So I feel like they would kind of get left behind. So it's like a new era of social media. It's been around for a while now, but still I've seen that there's not many barbers like yourself that are doing the same thing. So you're like not one of the first ones, but you're still at the beginning of it, basically.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just ask, how has it affected your business? The exposure that you've gained, how has it affected your business, as opposed to if you wasn't doing it at all and you was doing word of mouth, people walking past your barbershop, and that kind of thing?
No, definitely. Having just being reliant on walking trade and word of mouth, you can still make good money as a barber. I'm not going to deny that. But if you want to attract a certain type of clientele, if you want to target a certain demographic, a certain audience, a certain age range, social media is the only tool that you can do that with, because you can use your advertising and your hashtags and your sponsors posts and all this stuff to really nail it down to who is your ideal client. So for example, my barbershop, my ideal client are people who are professionals, people who are students, people who are tend to be family people, and people who are proud to pay. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't really attract your sort of local rude boys, or your kind of cheap clientele who just want it quick, in and out, shake it all about. I'm not really about that. Whereas if I was relying on walk-in and word of mouth, there's just no way for me to filter out who I'm getting in every single day. Whereas I have a booking system. So if I see a name on there, I know that name. I can probably know that name through somebody else has referred them, etc., or they've followed me on social media, and I'll kind of get an understanding of who that person is. So for me, not being on social media doesn't mean you can't be successful as a barber, but I don't think you can really grow. You need to be on social media to attract the right clients, the right type of people that you want. End of the day, social media is a tool that, if used properly, will only enhance what you already do. So if you're bad at what you do, doesn't matter how much you put on social media, you're not going to grow. You need to be good at what you do and use this social media to enhance what you do and to grow and progress. But for me personally, I have clients from all over the West Midlands now, bro, who come to me, and I mean literally all over the West Midlands, that come to me for haircuts on a weekly, fortnightly, and sometimes 3 weekly basis, just to get a trim from me because they saw me on Instagram, on TikTok. And I'll tell you a funny story quickly. Is I was posted a TikTok some while back, and it got a lot of views. It went viral very quickly. And I was walking my son to school when the schools reopened after this whole lockdown thing. And a lady just saw me and she's like, "Oh, are you a barber?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she's like, "Oh, I saw you on my TikTok." And I was like, "What? Don't know her from no one."
Yeah.
So she said, "Oh, can I book my son in for an appointment?" So I said, "Yeah, you can." She said, "Oh, how do I do it?" So I said to her, "Look, on my TikTok, there's an Instagram button. So you click that, and then you go into my Instagram, and there's a book now button. You click that, and it's going to take you to my booking system. Book yourself in, and I'll look after your son." And she just came back just before Eid for her second appointment with her son now, and that's a new client. So it works, man. It really works. TikTok to Instagram, Instagram to Booksy, Booksy to the barbershop, and eventually money in my pocket. It's business, baby.
Yeah, it's a powerful tool, very powerful.
That's it.
But a lot of people can tend to get caught up in it. So they might start a social media brand and they might be a bit too obsessive into it, and they like basically let it take over their life, or not just even a brand, just in general having an Instagram account. You might see, because there's a lot of influencers and stuff, they're always doing these things, but it's not like a visualization of the actual lifestyle. It's just like a pretense, basically.
Yeah, it's not reality, is it?
Yeah. So how would you be able to balance using social media to your benefit, but also not getting too involved in it to the point where you're like losing your own mind and staying in the real world as well?
I think in terms of social media, in order to not get too involved in it, you have to put a few things in place that protects you from falling into a dangerous kind of mind space and allowing social media to become too important in your life. So one of the few of the things that I do is I don't follow celebrities, because celebrities never share a realistic representation of their lives on social media. They only share you their highlight reels and their best bits. I don't follow banter pages, because I find that, banter pages tend to just be places where there's a lot of gossip going on, there's a lot of backbiting, there's a lot of people taking pleasure from other people's misfortunes. There is obviously sometimes some funny stuff that you can have a laugh about. And if you really want it, you can just jump on your explore page and Instagram will show you a lot of that stuff, and you don't have to follow those pages and be too engaged with it. I don't follow meme pages, again, for the same reasons to banter pages. And I think they're a waste of time as well, like consuming lots of meaningless content every day on social media, especially if you're a business owner, is not going to do anything for your business, and you're actually going to waste your time and not be able to utilize it properly. I don't reply to comments unless they're really positive ones. Negative ones, I totally ignore them. I don't even go through the habit of deleting them or blocking them, so I just ignore, and I just develop a resilience to the trolls and nonsense online. Also, I don't really read into my vanity metrics too much. I don't really look at my follows, my likes, my saves and my shares too much. Everybody will look at them, I've been on Instagram now since June 2017, so I think it was about 4 years in June coming. And I want to hit 10k. Like, who doesn't want to hit 10k, bro? Let's be realistic. But at the same time, I've come to realize and appreciate that I've built a solid community on there with my 8,000 followers of people who really like what I do, engage with what I do, and support me in my ventures on social media. Now, I've seen people who have large followings and they don't get the same amount of support and engagement that I do. So it's important not to allow those metrics to really start to dictate to you. Focus on building community, focus on making good content that is valuable, shareable, relatable and helpful for people and educational, and you'll be fine, man. A lot of the time we get caught up in all these numbers, and I think Instagram are doing a lot more now to try and take the importance away from all these metrics and show people that, this is a place where you can share what you do and allow others to enjoy it. So that's what I do, man. I share what I do and I allow others to enjoy it, and the rest of it, I'm not bothered no more, bro. Just happy to be on there and to be getting business from it.
Yeah, I feel like people can get caught up with the numbers a lot, and when you look into it too much, and then it might become like an obsession. So for example, if you have like a certain amount of followers, you're at 5k and you're like, I want to get to 10k, but it becomes an obsession where you looking at your following count going up constantly, and it's just constantly, and you just like into it. It's just not really a reflection of how it should be, because it should be you growing together with the people that are following you. So it's like a community, but you should be worried about what you're documenting and like what you're sharing and what they're being exposed to, as opposed to looking at them as just numbers, essentially.
Exactly. It's hard to do that, but if you could look at every one of your followers as a potential client in relation to whatever it is that you do, then you could really begin to really dial down on what it is that you need to give to that each individual follower. And there's a few principles on social media you should understand. Obviously, you have followers, you have fans, and then you have supporters. Now, A follower is somebody who's just followed you and they're new to your content. A fan is somebody who starts to kind of engage with you a bit more and they like what you do. And a supporter is somebody who's probably going to stick around, won't unfollow you, and they'll be there throughout the duration of your growth on social media. I've had a lot of people like that who I met through social media, and we've ended up meeting in person and say that, you know what, like, we built this relationship over social media, of friendship or business, you know, some like-minded business understanding, and now we're meeting in person. So build those real relationships and they'll take you a lot further. You could have 10K on Instagram, but have you got 10K in the bank? That's my most important thing. Is like, I would rather have 10K in the bank than 10K on Instagram, because Instagram, me having 10K on Instagram, if it doesn't make me 10K in the bank, I don't want it. If I have 10K on Instagram and for every one of those followers, or for the large majority of my followers, it makes me 10K, I'm happy. Otherwise, I'd rather not have all those followers, because then they're just meaningless people looking at my life and what I'm doing and not really contributing, bro.
Yeah. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about was how throughout your journey you stayed motivated to your grind and to like keeping updated in what's going on and just getting through and managing your time and not wasting your time, because you have 24 hours in a day. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. You might have different abilities and different access to things, but at the end of the day, if you use your time wisely, you can make a lot of it.
Well, definitely. I mean, obviously staying disciplined and staying committed and being passionate and motivated and inspired are all things that we all want, and they're not necessarily always going to run smoothly. I've had issues, you know, with motivation, and I've had issues in the past with being committed to what I'm doing. So what I do now is I try to put things in place to keep me like that. One of the main things for me is I write a lot of lists. I write a lot of to-do lists, and I follow them quite diligently, and that really helps me to stay on track with the things that I need to do and the things that I'm trying to achieve. Also, I think another way to really do that is be active. So exercise, read books, go for walks, meditate, pray, socialize with people. Don't allow yourself to become solely consumed by what it is that you're doing, because when you do, you can get into what happens is you have runs. You have runs and then you have ruts. So you'll have a good run, and during that run, everything will be smooth, everything will be fine, and then you'll hit a rut, and then you'll be like no motivation, lack of inspiration, no commitment, lazy, because you're having runs and ruts. So in order to avoid this type of runs and ruts process, just manage everything, balance your time out, you know, have time for work, have time for family, have time for play, have time for yourself. And that's what I do. So I write a lot of lists. I have a schedule on my phone. My phone literally tells me, right, it's time to pray. Okay, it's time to do your Instagram stories. Okay, it's time to go to the gym. And these alarms are forever going off on my phone. And sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, another alarm. But it keeps me on track and helps me to just stay ahead of my game. And then besides from that, I just try to enjoy my own personal time. I don't really try to put too much pressure on myself. I just do my lists, have my schedule, and make sure I'm getting things done. And then as long as all of that's done, I just chill. I'll go out for nice food. I'll watch a nice little TV show, a little movie, you know, order a little takeout, go for a walk. And the thing that I've been really doing a lot recently is reading a lot. And that's giving me a lot more clarity of thought. So I would just recommend to anyone that write yourself a list, go out, crush your list, get everything done, give yourself a schedule, socialize with other people who are like-minded. They want to be successful, they want to grow, they want to develop, read and exercise, and most importantly, eat well. Because if you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well, and if you're not sleeping well, you're not working well, and if you're not working well, you're failing. It's as simple as that, my bro.
Yeah. So the thing about eating, I feel like the thing you mentioned about list as well, it pushes you to not procrastinate. And the thing with eating is when you eat good food, you're less lazy and just slouching and stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. So what would you say to people that are dealing with issues like that? So if they have some days where they procrastinate a lot, how would you get out of that? Or even if you have some days like that, how would you make sure the next day is not like that? Or get out of the rut, essentially?
To get out of the rut, yeah. To get yourself on a good run. So what I tend to do is, if I've had a bad day, that night before I go to sleep, I'll write a list, and won't write a massive list, because if you overburden yourself, you'll just procrastinate even more, because then you become anxious about all the things you've got to do. So it's all about small wins. So I'll write myself a list, and the list will probably go something like, wake up at 5 a.m, pray, or it might be earlier than that, and then work out, and then eat breakfast, get to work 15 minutes early, have lunch at this time, and I will literally just plan out my next day just to get myself back on the run again. And then once I'm kind of back on that run, then I just focus on my small wins, bro. So, for example, eating clean. I'll just write a little food diary down. If I had a bad day, I ate loads of snacks and whatnot the day before, I'll write down all my snacks and I'll say, okay, well, I didn't need that thing. Okay, that thing, I can still have that, and I'll have that with my lunch or whatever. It's not about punishment. A lot of people, when they're trying to work towards their goal, trying to do what they do, they listen to all these online gurus, and you got to wake up at 5 and you got to have a cold shower and you got to go 23 hours without eating if you want to succeed. That's rubbish, man. That's rubbish. I've never done any of that stuff in order to get to where I'm going to get to, and I've achieved a lot, by the grace of God. But yes, you're going to wake up early. Yes, you're going to write yourself a list. Yes, you're going to have to eat clean, because that's what's going to fuel your mind to work properly. You're going to have to exercise. And it's not that just me saying that. This is millions of other successful people who do these things and they see the results. So if you're in a rut, schedule your next 3 to 7 days. Schedule them down to the letter, and follow that, because, discipline is what will help you to grow. Discipline is what's needed. When you want to achieve something, you need to be disciplined. And once you've got that discipline to become habitual and it's something that you just do, then it becomes your passion and you just do it naturally, and it's like, oh, it's cool. If I miss a day of working out now, I just feel odd. I feel off. It's like, oh, why haven't I worked out? Something, I start to kind of worry that maybe I'm getting lazy again. And if I start to get lazy again, I might lose everything that I've built. So I create that small fear in me that if I don't do these little things, the bigger things might start to fall apart. So with these small building blocks, we're building much bigger and better things, man.
Yeah, definitely. So we've come to the end of the podcast now, guys. So I just want to thank Jalal for coming down today.
My pleasure, bro.
So make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and share with anyone that you think would be beneficial for this. Thank you, guys.